Debra355. I'm always screwing her off my bangs. I always talk about a book that I've been writing. And I've been writing it almost, like I say, so I'm out of the womb. But what I do is I'll throw out my book, and it's got 2 different titles. I haven't decided on which one I'm going to use yet. And I've got up to chapter 23. And what I thought I'd do tonight, and I can rehearse this, so it doesn't matter if I throw it out there or not. I'm going to read what I've got so far, starting with chapter 1. I usually have the music playing in the background, but that might be an annoyance. So I'm just going to read through this and decide if I'm going to throw it out there. And if you guys think you might want to hear the rest of it, or more of what I've got, put a comment out there. And again, that money will go towards Haiti. I'm trying to collect as much as I can for that right now. I think I might be 50 total so far. Not much, but I put $1 in for every comment I get. So, reading from the first chapter of the book that I've been trying to write. So, you know, I'm not that you care, but. And it'll kind of be like what you're doing. Stop what you're doing, rockers, and take a look at that clock. That's right. It's time for the high noon block party. We're pulling out some classics by the Bowie Man on this beautiful 5th day of December. So buck your ears around those Sonys and get your bods outside for an hour of that beautiful 80-degree sunshine. We got to pay some bills right now, but don't you be moving that dial, because we'll be right back and cruise around that midday curve with you. She lowered the radio's volume, flicked on her turn signal, and slowly negotiated the right turn from Brand on to Broadway. Other than it being the first time she'd done it in a car that she was driving, there was nothing particularly unusual about that turn, but that's when she felt it. First in her stomach, then fluttering up into her chest. She buttoned the window down on the rented Escort and took a long, deep breath of air. She'd expected feeling nostalgic, but nervous? No reason to feel nervous. Changes, she murmured, scanning the familiar street. 8 years ago, the intersection of Brand and Broadway hadn't been anywhere near this wide. Those wheelchair access gradients made the corners an acre larger, and the streetlights were different too. Candelabra clusters of modern smoky globes replaced the antique lamps that she thought were so quaint. The 2-story building of retail stores angling the west side of the intersection remained, but the stucco hadn't been pristine white 8 years ago, and the storefronts hadn't been festooned with yellow awnings either. Stroud's and the linen warehouse were new, but down the block, Kistner's Takeout and the Candy Cradle were dear old friends. A small family-owned diner, Kistner's, Quit Your Clown and Get Kissed, had been popular for their onion-fried burgers and thumb-thick fries. Everything homemade and right off the truck fresh. You can hear a mooing back there, Danny, Katie Gilbert had said. Come noontime, there wasn't a mouth within smelling distance that hadn't salivated at the scent of sizzling beef and slabs of Bermudas. She'd never had one, of course. Her vegetarianism strictly knitted burgers, but she'd devoured enough onion rings in her day to qualify as an addict. And for dessert, the Candy Cradle, 3 doors down from Kistner's, had been the purveyor of her Friday night binge bag of any kind of peanut. Almonds, preferably. Chocolate, carob, or yogurt coated. The choice amount depending on how fat or thin she felt that particular day. It didn't matter now, or even then really, but at the time she would have confessed to feeling somewhat traitorous about browsing the Licorice Pizza record outlet across the street. That store had been her employer's competition after all. And she'd always thought the name Hoot. It was so L.A. It reeked L.A. No question, though. The Madonna, Michael Jackson, and Guns N' Roses posters scotch taped to the windows were up long past their bedtime. All were bleached to the breastbone. Jackson especially. Al Sharpton wouldn't agree, but Michael was almost that white now anyway. And L'Oreal couldn't have made Madonna any whiter. Next door, the only changes that old, used, and damn near new were the windows. In her day, they'd been ghostly with grime. Today, they were gleaming. Still looked dark and hazy inside, though, like all antique shops. How this one had managed to stay in business was a query worthy of unsolved mysteries. As often as you walked by it, 5 days a week, 2 times a day, there'd never been anybody in it. Not even a clerk. She smiled now as she coasted by. You never went inside either, Danny girl, she thought. And that could have been a mistake. You might have walked into an episode of One Step Beyond, or Candid Camera. It couldn't be, but the stuff she glimpsed now as she coasted by looked pretty damn familiar. Damask love seats, beaded lamps with jaundiced shades, monocled men and corseted women in daguerreotypes. Why did people always look so damn constipated and sepia? Even the kids. No tongue sticking out, like no fingers in a V behind someone's head. The entire 19th century could have used some Metamucil and a Polaroid. At the cross street of Broadway, and I've got a blank because I can't remember the name of that street, she braked at the red light, then glanced left to the stone block bronze of the Glendale post office. She remembered it well. 3 arched windows of metallic tinted glass topped 3 recessed brass doorways splayed across the front. And above the middle entrance, a flagpole that today was flagless. A very clean-cut, uncomplicated structure, versatile too. Built somewhere in that 20s to 30s decade, the Glendale Post Office, unlike many human thespians, had racked up credits in 2 TV shows. It had debuted as an office in City of Angels with Wayne Rogers, and then subbed as a cop shop in Precinct. Neither show had lasted very long, but it was the 2-day shoot for Precinct, outside on those smooth stone steps, that rewrote the mundane credits of her own life. Thanks to Stephen, she thought, and smiled again. Ta-da! I did it! Aren't you scared? Anyway, that's part of the first chapter, so if you think you might want to hear any more, my family does it. I've said it to them. They're going, we can't open it. What's the password? But that's part of what I've been working on. And like I say, I've got 200 or 300 pages up to chapter 23. So if you think I should continue, let me know. But I'll continue to throw the songs out there anyway. Thanks for your indulgence.